Uh, then I have to live stream on Facebook. And I can share it to my page and select my page. Right. Good morning, CSL Greater Baltimore. Thank you for joining us this morning from wherever you are and whenever you join us. My name is Dana Cole. I'm your practitioner for today, and I will be sharing a brief meditation for us to get centered and focused and start believing in possibilities. So, with that, I would like to now share. Uh, if you could just sit, get relaxed, get comfortable, sit back in your seat, and imagine that you have a burning candle in front of you. And as a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is share a burning candle so that you won't have to imagine. Let's see if I can get this right. Are you seeing just a candle being shared? If someone could just nod, great. So, as we sit, just take a moment to be aware of where you are physically, how your body is being seated, how your body may be positioned. Just bring that to your full awareness and start with your feet and bring that awareness through your ankles, through your calves, through your legs. Bring that awareness to your bottom. Bring that awareness to your torso. Bring your awareness to your shoulders, down your arms, to your fingertips. Now that you are fully aware of you, your physicality, bring your awareness now to the candle. And as you breathe and watch the candle focus on that light. If you're sitting, sit with your posture such that you feel a string pulling you up from the top of your head. And have your eyes, if you can, focused on the burning candle. And as you take some deep breaths, I'm going to share with you a few quotes from Ernest Holmes as we breathe and focus. Never limit your view of life by any past experience. The possibility of life is inherent within the capacity to imagine what life is, supported by the power to produce this imagery or divine imagination. The possibility of life is inherent within divine imagination. It is not a question of failing or succeeding. It's simply a question of sticking to an idea until it becomes a tangible reality. Sticking to an idea until it becomes a tangible reality. The illusion is in the way we look at things. We have looked at poverty, degradation, and misery until they have assumed gigantic proportions. Now we must look at harmony, happiness, plenty, peace, and right action until they appear. Now we must look at harmony, happiness, plenty, peace, and right action until they appear. As you look at the candle, how do you see peace and right action manifesting in your present life? Unbounded is this present life. Possibility exists everywhere. Possibility of creating a world that works for all is here. It is limitless. The only time we will ever have is now, the immediate moment. So the question is, how wisely are we using our immediate moment? This eternal now speaks as a vast, open emptiness of future that we all are emerging into. So again, never limit your view by any past experience. The possibility of life is inherent within the capacity to imagine what life is, backed by the power of divine imagination. Knowing that you are powered by this source, by divine imagination, by divine mind, by divine intelligence. In surrendering to your divinity, it is simply a question of sticking to an idea until it becomes a tangible reality. Look at harmony, happiness, plenty, prosperity, peace, and right action until they appear. Namaste.
Good morning, Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore Community. Let us open our celebration this morning by ringing our bowl. Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful meditation pre-service, Dana. So following our invocation today, we will have a guest musician with us. Very blessed to have Nathen Aswell here with us. And Dana Cole, who is our producer and practitioner of the day, will be gifting us with an invocation.
So, good morning, CSL Greater Baltimore. Thank you for joining us. And as I take this moment to thank all of the participants who are bringing us this lovely service this morning, I want to thank Reverend Alexandra Musser for bringing us a beautiful message today. I want to thank Nathen Aswell for bringing us music that will soothe and move our souls. I thank Jerice for being the hostess that gives us that soothing, calming, welcoming presence. I thank each and every one of you for coming to today's service. I know that everything is in divine order, and this service feeds our souls, feeds our hearts, feeds our minds, and continues to bless us as we go through our day, our week. And so I thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. So, Nathen, feel free to join in.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm hoping we were having some technical difficulties in the last half hour. I hope I've solved them. If I haven't, someone just put in the chat that you can hear me or not. And if you can't, then I will grab my acoustic guitar and we'll go old school. I'd like to start with a wonderful song by India Ari called I Am Light. I am light. I am light. I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am not mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. the skin on the outside. I am not my age, I'm not my race. Soul inside is all light, is all light. I am light. I am light. I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light.
Dana, we're seeing a number of screens here. There we go. Oh, wow. Dana and Nathen, thank you so much. What a gorgeous, gorgeous beginning to our service today. I don't know if all of you were feeling it, but I had tingles. It was like a gift to my nervous system going up and down as I was hearing your music. And Dana, you really set the stage for us to be able to receive Nathen today. Thank you. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome all to the Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore, to our Sunday celebration service. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are and whenever you are. I am your hostess, Jerice Pappas. Our speaker today is the beautiful Alexandra. And our practitioner who led the pre-service meditation and invocation is our very own Dana Cole. Our musician that you just heard is Nathen Aswell. And our service producer is Dana Cole. Thank you for your service. So next we will have an announcement from Robin Farrenholt, the president of the Board of Trustees for CSL Greater Baltimore.
So good morning, my beloveds. There is never going to be a good time to say this, so I'm just going to read what I've written, and let us sit with it for a moment, and then we can move forward. It is truly with a heavy heart that I come before you today to share some difficult news. After much prayer, reflection, and careful consideration, the leadership team and I have made the decision to close our spiritual center. This decision comes as a result of declining membership and financial challenges that have made it increasingly difficult to sustain the work we have so passionately dedicated ourselves to over the years. I want you to know that this decision was not made lightly, nor without a deep sense of loss. Each of you has been a vital part of this community, and your presence, love, and support have been the heart of everything we've built together. We have shared moments of growth, healing, and connection, and those memories will remain with us always. While this is a time of transition and sadness, I also want to remind you that the spirit of our community, our values, our faith, and our love for one another lives on in each of us. The journey we've taken together has made us stronger, and we will carry the lessons learned here into the next chapter of our lives. We have met with the leadership of Columbia CSL and will merge our time, talents, and treasures with them. All are welcomed at their services held at 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings at the Hawthorne Center, 6175 Sunny Spring, Columbia. Above all, know that this decision is not the end, but a turning point. We are not losing what we have built. Instead, we are releasing it to the universe, trusting that new opportunities for spiritual growth, connection, and service will emerge. Thank you for your unwavering support and understanding during this challenging time. I hold each of you in my heart and in my prayers, and I trust that together we will continue to walk this path of love and light.
Thank you, Robin. And I also trust in the greater unfolding for the benefit of all. So now I invite you to read along with me as I share our sacred covenant and community prayer. So first, this is our covenant. The circle of divine love is complete. It comprehends all, includes all, and binds all together with everlasting unity. We are forever held in love's presence and care. Divine love is complete as me. I am the divine love that I am. And now for our community prayer. Again, I welcome you to say it along with me. There is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. In knowing that I am one with this life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which includes the Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore Community and beyond. I know that the highest purpose of our center is a revelation of God as divine love. As I now accept the highest expression of CSL Greater Baltimore into my life, I know that it is revealed in a way that glorifies God and serves the highest and greatest good for all. We are touched by this presence. I am grateful. God is gracious. Amen. Ashe. And so it is. So now I would like to welcome back Nathen Aswell to share his beautiful gifts with us. But before he starts, I'd like to share a few words about Nathen. So Nathen Aswell is a recording artist and inspirational speaker based in Vancouver, Canada. And he believes that calling in this life is to encourage people to live big lives, one small step at a time. His CDs, Little by Little and Yes, are celebrations of life, transformation, and evolution, and the oneness of humanity, delivered in a variety of popular music styles. Nathen honors his calling by performing and speaking internationally at conferences, concerts, retreats, and churches, presenting his music, stories, and humor with his voice and the Chapman stick, a 12-stringed electronic instrument that is tapped with both hands like a piano. You can read more and purchase Nathen's music at nathenaswell.com. We are truly pleased and delighted to have Nathen with us today.
Thank you so much. I'd like to continue with a song by Claudia Carawan, who is in Virginia. This is a song called I Claim a Blessing. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. This is how I start the day, knowing good is on the way. I am claiming perfect health, love and laughter, friends and wealth. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. With conviction undeterred and power of the spoken word, take my life and redefine, break the shackles of my mind. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim it. I claim a blessing. I claim it. I claim a blessing. I lift my thoughts to higher ground, knowing miracles are all around. Each day unfolds just as it should when I'm focusing on the good. Life is filled with opportunity. I wonder what good is coming to me. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim it. I claim a blessing. I claim it. I claim a blessing.
Oh, that was absolutely wonderful. I just couldn't stay still in my seat there. I think I have my new morning get up and give gratitude song to jam with. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And now I'd like to bring back our very dear Dana Cole. Thank you, Dana, for reading our spiritual practice and our reading. Thank you.
Good morning again, CSL Greater Baltimore. I have today two quotes from Ernest Holmes. The first is from Science of Mind, page 298. And the second is from How to Use the Science of Mind, page 5. So, one of the first things to do is love everybody. If you have not done this, begin to do so at once. There's always more good than bad in people, and seeing the good tends to bring it forth. Love is the grandest healing and drawing power on earth. It's the very reason for our being. People are dying for real human interest, for genuine friendship, for someone to tell them that they are all right. We always welcome the person who looks at the world as their friend and loves it. And that was from Science of Mind, page 298. And then, secondly, when we say there is one cause back of all manifest form, one intelligence back of all consciousness, and one spirit within all people, we are not denying the reality of created forms or individual experiences. We are affirming the unity of all life, a unity which includes all variety. Unity passes into variety and multiplicity without division. In each creation, life brings its whole nature to bear upon that individual expression. And that's from How to Use the Science of Mind, page 5. And so, for your spiritual practice this week, I invite you to do a 5-minute candle meditation every morning, and that you use that candle to ground yourself in love, in peace, and in right action in our eternal now. And so it is. Namaste. You are on mute, dear.
Thank you. Now I would like to introduce our very own, well, actually you are today, Reverend Alexandra Musser.
Honored. Hi.
Alexandra graduated with her master's in consciousness studies from the Holmes Institute and the School of Spiritual Leadership. Her focus as a new minister is to offer science of mind as the same metaphysical philosophy and spiritual psychology that Ernest Holmes had intended, not as a religious movement, but as a spiritual approach to positive living, where spiritual laws meet and mix with the laws of science to reveal a greater universal truth, where humanity is one with the creative spirit and all of creation. All there is God. So science and spirituality cannot be in conflict or create an image of duality. Ernest Holmes told us, there is a power for good in the universe available to all. Life mirrors our very thoughts and expectations. Reverend Alexandra asks, how empowering is it to know that we are the creative authors of our lives and that we can use this power to create a more peaceful, benevolent world for all? We are so happy to welcome Reverend Alexandra Musser with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. And what a special day it is. It's bittersweet. I'm honored that I'm here with you today. And there's been a wonderful experience to watch the service unfold so far. And anyways, call me Reverend Alex. Alexandra's kind of a really long name. So I am here to talk about possibilities. Dana, will you be running the slides for me, please? Great. Okay. So I'm not really thrilled with the idea of possibilities. And the reason I'm not thrilled with the idea of possibilities is because, well, they're possible. And so what is possible? Possible are those things that we think that we can achieve. And typically they're things that we have achieved in the past. And so they're not nearly as exciting to me as those things that we think are impossible. Okay, if we can have the first slide, please. I took the meaning of the word impossible and I broke it up, and it was I am possible. Okay, we can go on to the next one. It's all right. And so when we think about I am possible, that expands everything to so much more. So I'm going to start with this little story to share with you. We did talk in my introduction about science. I really think there's a reason we're called the science of mind. The reason we're called religious science is because we are all one. And the more that we discover, unfortunately, the more we tend to push out God, because God used to be in the mind of most people just this anthropomorphic big thing out there that, could do all the things we couldn't do. So if we couldn't do them, we would just go pray to God and God would maybe do them for us. But as science has evolved, we've come to the point where we can clone beings, we can do so much. We can create rain, we can create snow. I mean, we can go out into outer space, we discover things. And so scientists have had a meeting and they appointed two of their leaders to go to God and to say, listen, we thank you for everything that you've done, but we don't need you anymore, because all these things, now that we've figured out how it works, we can do them ourselves. And God says, well, okay, I understand. But before I go away and resign my position, what I'd like you to do is to give me a quick little demonstration. Do you think that you could maybe create a human being? And they say, oh, of course we can create a human being. We've already done that many times. So God says, all right, well, let's go do it all over again. Poofs them up into the Garden of Eden and says, go ahead, create a human being. So the scientists look at each other and they bend down and they pick up a hand of dirt and they're about to create a human being. And God says, now go get your own dirt. So you see, we're not quite 100% there. And I want to just remind each and every single one of us that as we understand more and more, we should be in greater awe of the magic and the magnificence of the divine spirit, not push it out of our awareness because we understand. The next slide, please. So, what does it mean when we say, I am possible? It means that all of the things that up until now we thought were outside of our grasp, all of a sudden they can be within our grasp. I was listening to Ruth Miller this morning. Ruth Miller, if you don't know, is the newly elected president of Emerson, and she has a radio show on noetic sciences. And she says that in our consciousness, we tend to replicate everything that we have been aware of. Coming back from our primitive times where, hey, if we're still here, what we did must have been good because it got us thus far. So we'll just keep doing that. But in science of mind and new thought, we want to move beyond that. So we need to think of the impossible and train ourselves to accept that and more we can do. And the next one, please. So we run on autopilot. What does that mean? That means that what we've done before, this is what we're going to do now. So this is from Ernest Holmes. We must impress upon the mind the possible, even the impossible, through affirmations and even denials, because the mind therefore makes an impress upon the law. So we must take that which we feel in our hearts and our minds and our very being that is our divine birthright, even if it seems impossible, and know that we would not be so magnetically pulled to that ideal unless that was spirit within us, drawing us to the seeming impossible, which of course nothing in spirit is impossible. So we have to trust that. The next one, please. Again, from Ernest Holmes, the law is infinite. It is right where we happen to be at any given time. It's here now, right? It occupies all space and fills every form with differentiations of itself. Those differentiations are you, me, the trees outside, my little dog, the whole world, everything that is out there, even differentiations of ourselves that we may not be very fond of. That's why we talk about love so much. It's like being cancer against your own self when you have this unfondness, to put it mildly, towards another being or other beings. The law also flows through us because it flows through everything. And since we exist, it must be in and through us. So looking at things this way, there is nothing impossible, is there? The next one, please. Infinite and immutable as the law is ever present and available as it must be. The potential possibility of all human probability, the potential possibility of all human probability, that moves into the impossible. It must flow through us in order to manifest for us. So what does it mean when it flows through us in order to manifest? We have to recognize it. We have to affirm it. We have to accept it. We have to say yes to it. I had the idea when I was in my 40s, when I first went to Asilomar, that I would be a minister. And at the time, I thought, oh, I was just too old and my life was too busy. I just turned 70 years old 2 months before, and my goal was to become a minister and have my master's in consciousness before my 70th birthday. You know, Nathen talked about I am not my age in the lyrics of his song. You know, we have to say yes to that thing, and it nags you until you say yes. The next one, please. I want to talk a little bit about string theory, which is kind of a new aspect of science. The string theory is a theory that is three-dimensional. We typically talk about depth, width, and height, and time. Those are the four elements. But string theory in physics takes that one dot in space, that one line in space, and turns it into a dot three-dimensionally. And then we can see that from it has multi-dimensional connections, and that everything is interconnected and therefore is influenced by other outside dimensions. This is a new area of science. It is something that explains what happens with the double slit experiment, where the observer's effect, where you look at something and it's different, and if you don't look at it, it might look one way if I look at it versus when Dana looks at it. But we're talking about scientists firing God. Scientists are really getting closer and closer to understanding this. And in some other of my talks, and maybe a workshop that we might still do, I talk about how we are inherently wired, once we know this, to connect to it. It's not just something that's happening out there, but we are inherently a part of this multi-dimensional string theory universe. The next one, please. So to simplify it, imagine the fundamental building blocks of the universe as tiny strings, and the way they vibrate determines what particles and forces they create. Tiny vibrating strings like musical chords. And so depending at the level of vibration that we operate on, we create a different reality for ourselves. We've all been saying that, and we know that in science of mind, it's become something that it's almost a mantra. But isn't it wonderful to know that there's a science back of it? I feel that gives us a greater responsibility to ourselves and to the world to know, hey, this is not just something that I just believe because I have faith. This is the reality of the divine universe in which we vibrate. Connections. The strings are all interconnected, showing how everything in the universe is related and interacts together. And haven't we come to see that from nature, from how we treat our planet, from how we treat each other, from what happens in this corner of the globe to that corner of the globe? There is no way that we can compartmentalize ourselves or a certain part of the planet and say, well, this is under my control. Everything else I don't care about. It ripples out. And we too are affected by things that are happening elsewhere, things that are happening on the planet that might not have anything to do with us, but it does. It does have everything to do with us, with the weather, with the way the water flows, with food distribution, with consciousness. Consciousness. Extra dimensions. While we live in 4 dimensions, as I mentioned, length, width, depth, and space, plus time, string theory suggests that there are more hidden dimensions that affect how strings vibrate and create the universe. And so, is your impossible possible in a different vibrational universe? And are you there now? You just can't see it because we just see our room, our screen, our wherever we are. The next one, please. This interconnectedness of human beings and our journey takes us beyond human possibilities. So this intricate web of connections represents how every individual is a vital part of the greater whole, with each string symbolizing the limitless potential that arises from our connections to one another. It's a reminder of the extraordinary possibilities we can achieve together. So, what is this a picture of? This is a picture of the divine tapestry. Each and every single one of us is a magical thread in the divine tapestry. And so, what happens if we take our thread in a certain direction or we remove ourselves altogether? We alter the image of the divine tapestry. So, to whom much is given, from them much is expected. To be part of the divine tapestry, we have to take that responsibility seriously. Because if I, for example, would have chosen not to show up here today, it would have probably really messed up some people's lives that were expecting this for today. And, I've never even been to Baltimore yet. So you see the divine tapestry, and it's the same thing, whether you show up at church, whether you show up at work, whether you show up to your family with a smile on your face and love in your heart, or whether you just choose not to show up at all. So what happens when you don't show up at all? There's something missing. There is something missing. You are needed. And the next one, please. I love the story. This is from the Bible. It's Matthew 14:25-31. So the disciples were on the boat and it was very windy and the waters were very rough and they were very scared. And so in the distance, they see this ghost-like figure that's walking on the water. And they're scared even more. They say, what is that? Is it a ghost? Is it Jesus? And so Peter says, Lord, if it is you, bid me come. So Jesus says, come. Now, what is he telling him to come? Get out of the boat in the storm and walk on water. So he does, he takes a few steps and then he realizes he's walking on the water. And what happens? He sinks. And Jesus' response to him is, oh, thee of little faith. And it's not, oh, thee of little faith because you didn't trust me to come to me. It's you of little faith in yourself. You did it until you looked down and you were reminded through your past behavior and said, hey, human beings don't walk on water. Sometimes in my life, and I'm sure it's true in some of your lives, we have the feeling that everything is going so well and is so unbelievable that we achieve this or that. And then it's this thing like, I'm flying too close to the sun and maybe my wings will melt off and you get a little scared, like, how did I do that? Remember that the power that took you there can take you through there and beyond. And the next one, please. A ship is safe in the harbor, but it is meant for the high seas. So, the same thing is true of our lives. We are perfectly safe in our homes, in our everyday, whatever it is we do, in our families, in our routines. Remember that we are creatures that function based on automatic pilot. But that is not what we were meant to do. We were meant to move out from our comfort zones and face life head on with small steps, intentional steps, while reminding ourselves that the strength of the divine and the potential lies within us. So this doesn't mean not to be fearful. It means the faith is to overcome that fear, that the drive to do whatever we feel compelled to do is greater than the fear, and divine will bring us through it. And the next one, please. So when we come into incarnation, I believe that we all come to make a difference for good. And we each have a divine purpose. We are spirit, come here to have a human experience. I don't think that we need to be more spiritual. I think we need to be more human. And that means bringing the spirit more and more and more consciously into humanity. But what happens when we're little? We all had this. Our parents and society and everyone decides to protect us from dangerous, dangerous good. You know, how many times did I hear from my mother, wear a sweater, I'm cold, you know? How many times have we been told, remember who you're talking to? You can't do that. You can't speak to so and so and tell them, you know, you just got to zip it because otherwise you might lose your job or whatever it is. And so we have been trained to just live in a little bubble of protection and not make any kinds of waves. And so then what happens? Then we're afraid to step out of that. It's like an invisible cage is around us, and all these little voices from our teachers and our parents and our bosses and everybody else is still running in the background. And now we can go to the next one. So I think the slide is so cute. I've had a dog that did that. And so, but, but this is not a good example of civil disobedience. Emerson taught us about self-reliance. In the transcendentalist movement, that we were taught that we have to believe in ourselves. We have to be an individual. We have to have the faith that what we're doing is the right thing to do. And Emerson, who greatly, greatly influenced Thoreau wrote an essay on civil disobedience. Civil disobedience to him was he did not want to pay taxes because the taxes that he was paying were funding slavery and they were funding the Mexican-American War. And he said, no, I have a moral consciousness that transcends these human laws that says I have a right to civilly disobey. Now, I guess if I left my dog in the house for way too long and didn't get to go out and feed it, it might have a right to civilly disobey that way. But we now live in the time where sacred activism is very, very important. And it is outside the boundary, those safe boundaries that I talked about that we have been taught up until now to follow, to stay, to, you know, not draw negative attention to ourselves. We must speak our divine voices into the world. The next one, please. There are some examples of children who disobeyed. So first, I'll start with Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln felt very, very strongly that slavery needed to be abolished. Abraham Lincoln was known as Honest Abe. He was an attorney and he charged somebody more than he should have. And he walked, I don't know how many miles through the forest to get back to that person to give him the extra change that they had. Now we know what happened to him in the end, but we also know that the work that he did, if somebody would have said to him, this is your work or you can be safe, you could be a ship in harbor, he would have done that work anyway. Marie Curie worked, and she and her husband worked with radioactivity, and she came up with the initial cures for cancer. What we're talking about is different forms of radiation. She was the first woman to win a Nobel Peace Prize for her work. She didn't even understand the power of this radioactivity substance. She and her husband, because he was a doctor as well, would walk through the labs with these little vials of radioactive material clinging in their pockets. So now we have Malala Yousafzai, and we know her as the young woman whose father had a school in Afghanistan, and she was learning as a student. And so even though the Taliban decided that women do not have a right to education, but her father continued to teach girls. And she wrote a letter to the Taliban when she was 11 years old, in her own words, explaining why women should have a right to education and why it's important to educate girls. When she was 14 years old, she was shot in the head traveling on the school bus back home from school. And to this day, she is continuing to be an activist for women's rights and women's education. And she has women's education schools, clandestine schools in Afghanistan, continuing to risk her life for the education of women. Martin Luther King Jr., I Have a Dream. We just celebrated his birthday. We know also what happened to him, but he, without his courage to lead the civil rights movement, to lead the marches, to make it so that there was no place people could go and not hear that message, whether they were Black or white or any other variation of the human theme. We would not be here where we are today. There's further to go. But he was a child who disobeyed. Thank you, God, for children who disobey. Jesus, we know that Jesus was a social activist. We know that he did not come out and say, believe in me and everything will be better for you. He spoke truth to power. He spoke to the Pharisees, who were the religious leaders of the time, and pointed out the inequities. He was a voice for the poor, for the sick, for the disenfranchised, and in many ways for women as well. And things did not fare well for him either. I want you to know that I don't think that any of us are going to end up this way. But for these people, again, had they been given a choice to make the difference in the world that they did, or just live happily ever after safely, I think they would not have chosen to live happily ever after safely. John F. Kennedy, he put the first he was responsible for the first lunar landing. He was a proponent of the civil rights movement. Again, look at what happened to him, but it doesn't happen to everybody. I don't know how many of you are aware of Nick Vujicic. He is an Australian motivational speaker, inspirational speaker. He is a Christian. In the last 10 years, he has spoken before 3 million people. And he mostly goes and speaks to young people that are in high school or colleges, where we have the greatest risk of suicide. Because, when you're that age, everything is wrong and life is not worth living. But he was born without any arms or legs. And when he was born, his parents, for the first 4-6 months of his life, didn't even know how to hold him. Thankfully, his father was also a minister, and his mother came to believe and kept telling him that there has to be a purpose for him. Imagine that you cannot do anything for yourself. And so he was so despondent that when he was 8 years old, he told his family, his mom or dad, I don't know who he told in his household, I would like to take a bath. And so they put him and they ran the bath water. They put him in the bathtub, and his intention was to drown himself in the 4 inches of water, which as a small child he could well do. He thought he would never be able to be married. He thought he would never have children. He wrote, I didn't think that I'd ever be able to hug my children. He now has a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful children. And he says, the best thing about it is that they hug me. And what a wonderful example he is. Can you imagine being on stage in front of that many people sharing that story? And he says, I'm glad that I was born like this, because had I not, people probably would not have paid attention to my message. Emmeline Parkhurst, she was one of the first suffragists in England, and she was not a stranger to being imprisoned and to being put into handcuffs and hauled away. And when World War I came about, she realized that the suffragist movement would be put on hold. So what she and women that were part of that movement did is they assisted with the war movement, sewing things, making things, and nursing, still showing up to the front in different ways. And afterwards, the women were allowed the right to vote in England. Mother Teresa, she was 4 feet 7 inches tall, and she went to tend to the poorest of the poor, people with leprosy. In the streets of Calcutta, the first place that she had was a bare floor tent enclosure with mice and rats running around. And that's all that she could afford. But she chose that. And she made such a difference in the world. She was invited to speak at a UN function, and she was given a bottle of water, a plastic bottle. And she said, please take this away. With the money that this costs, I can feed 10 people. I will have a glass of water. Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart was the first woman to fly across the ocean, and women were not pilots, but she loved it. She grew up as a tomboy because her father was an alcoholic and her parents always fought, so she was encouraged to be outside and do other things. Nelson Mandela. We know Nelson Mandela, and after he was arrested, he was given the opportunity to get out of prison if he abandoned his cause. And he would not abandon his cause. But in his young years, he was a militant and he was a fighter. He was not a peaceful activist. And he came through that, a peaceful activist. And what he did after he came out and when he became president, the only thing that he requested of the white people that had harmed the blacks in some way, shape, or form through the discrimination and the racism that was prevalent in the country is he created courts, and they had to come to that court, and the person that was affected would tell how they were made to feel and what happened to them. And they just had to listen to how their victims felt. And many of them cried and were changed by that experience, but they were never punished. Gandhi was a person that believed in social activism, and he believed in hunger strikes. And he went to England to become an attorney. He returned to India, and he returned with a different mindset that the people of India have to be treated as human beings with respect. And that is still not fully the case in India, but it's made progress. And then Jimmy Carter, after he was president, moved on to the greatest times of his life, working for the homeless and building homes and working for the environment and having the Jimmy Carter Foundation and writing books. He did not look at his no longer being president as a setback. It freed him to do other things for humanity. Miss Rosa Parks, we know that she, by not giving up her seat on the bus, was responsible for fueling the human rights movement and for the march that Martin Luther King called forth. And she says, people think I sat down and wouldn't give up my seat because I was tired that day. She said, no, I was not tired that day. I was tired of having to be quiet and move to the back of the bus. That's what I was tired of. And then my favorite, Albert Einstein, he was a very poor student. His parents were concerned. He didn't utter a single word until after the age of 2. His teachers told his parents that he had absolutely no academic future whatsoever. And when he was in elementary school, he threw a chair at his teacher. He was repeatedly fired as a tutor, even though of his brilliance when he went to college, because he was just so radical that people could not control him. And I don't need to share what he did. So let us be children who disobey, and let us be children who do the impossible. The next one, please. Albert Einstein tells us that miracles are breaking through possibility to achieve the impossible. This is what this talk is all about. And he said, there are only 2 ways to live your life. One is if everything is a miracle, and the other is if nothing is a miracle. I challenge you to take the statement in your heart. I, for one, live my life as if nothing is a miracle. Because if a miracle by definition is something that's not likely to happen, and it's unusual that it does. Well, nothing is a miracle in spirit. And the next one, please. So I encourage you again to embrace your soul's yearnings and to follow your divine connection, because that is God's nudge with you for your possibility. And your aligning with divine purpose is going to move you outside of possibilities. We should live outside of our possibilities. Next, please. These are some to-dos. I like to end my talks with some to-dos. What do we do to make this happen? Well, of course, we cultivate a positive mindset. We just release any limiting beliefs. We spend a lot of time in visualization. The brain does not know the difference between things that you're imagining and visualizing and pretending that are real, as opposed to the reality of like my desktop here or whatever it is. Stay open to miracles, because miracles are not unique and unlikely to happen. Keep your fear and your doubts outside of yourself. It's natural to have them, but take your faith beyond that. Live in a state of anticipatory awareness. I love that song that we were all just dancing to, you just wake up and just ready for the magic to unfold. And embrace your idealist, disobedient child. Through breakthrough from possibility into achieving the impossible, we must clearly define and visualize our I am possible. What is that for you? Each one of us has a different one. Alice in Wonderland, she says, there's no use in trying. One can't believe impossible things. And the Queen says, I dare say you haven't had much practice, because when I was younger, I always did it for half an hour a day, her spiritual practice. Why, sometimes I've even believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. What is she describing? Our spiritual practice. So in closing, we have to believe. We have to believe in the impossible, in whose and whose we are, and know that nothing is outside of reach. Leave you with the words of Henry Ford that says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Thank you. Should we go to prayer now? Yes. So we just shake off all of this enthusiasm so that it is just tingling in the universe and all around us and in the space that we occupy. We retreat back into our core center. And I invite you to put one hand on your heart, whatever your dominant hand is, and the other one on your solar plexus right above your navel. And feel the warmth, feel the energy, feel the indwelling presence of God. Feel how that has been shifted through the visioning of your new I am possible. I know that there is one power, one intelligence, one greatness, one omnipotence in the universe that I call God, that outpictures out of itself the divine tapestry, and that myself and each and every single one of us, consciously or unconsciously, is a brilliant thread in that divine tapestry. And out of that divine mind, in the divine tapestry, we can outpicture the impossible by converting it to the I am possible. We can outpicture a world that works for all, a world of peace, a world of abundance and plenty, a world where everyone is loved and everyone belongs, and everyone knows that they are that divine thread in the divine tapestry. And so I just want to envision us holding hands or strings in string theory or the threads in the divine tapestry, but knowing that we are each rippling out into the cosmos, making that difference, living our I am possible, knowing and recognizing that there is trepidation, that it can be a little scary to look down. But I claim that we look up, not down. And so as we look up, and as we have spirit in and as through us, and as we remember that fearlessness is an expression of faith, we know that all is good, all is God, and we are possible. And please repeat with me in closing. Thank you, Mother, Father, God. I am possible. And so I release this word with much gratitude and much joy into that fertile soil of law from whence it does not return unfulfilled, knowing that my words are already an idea in the divine mind of God. And we affirm this gratefully by saying, and so it is. Ashe, amen.
Wow. Thank you so much, Reverend Alex. I see my ship leaving the harbor.
Fleet, let's all go.
So at Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore, we practice conscious giving, also called dana. In Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism, dana is the practice of cultivating generosity. It can take the form of giving to those in need, giving to a community, or giving to where you are spiritually fed. As we gather today in the spirit of love and fellowship, we are mindful of the profound impact conscious giving, dana. As we give, we receive. There are a few ways to practice conscious giving and your support at Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore. You will find them on the donate page of our website using PayPal, Givelify, or text. We will also put our website link in the chat. So together, let's express our declaration of financial wealth and abundance. I joyfully, consciously, and gratefully participate in the law of circulation. I trust in the spiritual principle that says, as I sow into my beloved community, I demonstrate my awareness of standing not only in the flow, but as the flow itself. As I sow of myself, my time, my treasure, my talent, I demonstrate my support and engagement in my community's vision, mission, and purpose. I actively give as a demonstration of manifesting, of reaping the harvest of a world that works for all. And now we'll have a final song from our amazing Nathen Aswell.
Thank you so much. This song is by Daniel Namod. Oh, there we go. This last song is by Daniel Namod. It's an up-tempo version of a song which maybe some of you have heard, but I just gave it even a little bit more oomph. It's called Higher Place. Up, up, up. Oh. Oh, too many pedals. There we go. Up, up, up to a higher place. Up, 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 far beyond this time and space. Up, up, up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. No more forward, no more backward, no more spinning around and around. My life is moving ever upward. My feet are leaving the ground. Up, up, up to a higher place. Up, 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 far beyond this time and space. Up, up, up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. No more forward. Let me do that again. No more downward, no more darkness, no more wondering the point of it all. My life is destined, oh, for greatness. My soul has answered the call. Up, up, up to a higher place. Up, 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 far beyond this time and space. Up, up, up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Feel my soul rising to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place.
Thank you, Nathen. So uplifting. So as we all know, prayer works. we as a community continue to treat and move our feet, knowing the truth for everyone around the planet. So if you would like a miracle in a minute, prayer after service, there'll be a practitioner who'll be available. I think it might be Dana today, in our Zoom room after service. You'll be placed in a private breakout room with a practitioner. You may also complete a prayer request on our website via info@cslgreaterbaltimore.org. Amen, ashe, and so it is. So thank you all for joining us today, again, from wherever you are. And if you're watching, and especially if you're watching another time, we honor your presence. This has been such a perfect, on point, uplifting service. Thank you, thank you, thank you for creating this together. We welcome you to join us after our closing prayer and for fellowship in the Zoom room. So now, Reverend Alex, we bring you the microphone to lead us in closing prayer.
Thank you. Oh, we are so grateful. We are so grateful to be here as one. We are so grateful to feel the love of God, to know that we are just infinite, infinite potential, ready to manifest, ready to be all that we can be. I just bless Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore. I bless them moving forward into the merger with another CSL center. I know that these folks are light beings, they're godlings in full expression. And wherever there are more light beings together, there is a greater expression of divinity and of power and of presence on the planet. And so I call that forth, knowing that that is the path that you are all led on. I just thank you so much for your love, for your inner work, for your outer work, and for being here today to make a difference in yourselves and in the world. And so now I claim blessings upon each and every single one here. I claim blessings upon the world. And I just release my prayer knowing that it is so. Amen. Ashe. So it is.